Welcome Golden Wolves to the Alvernia Campus Show, your go-to source for everything happening right here at Alvernia University. I'm Braden Livingston, and joining me is my co-host.
I'm Anthony Florkowski, and we're excited to bring you the latest from campus life. And now, let's jump right into the latest headlines. Here's your Alvernia Campus News Update.
Flight 209er clear for Vector 324.
We have clearance, Clarence.
Roger, Roger. What's our vector, Victor?
For our weekly plane incident recap, this past Sunday, a plane crashed in Lancaster County in front of a retirement community. The plane was a Beechcraft Bonanza, which implies this ride would be a fun time, but unfortunately, 5 people aboard the plane were injured and there was a lot of damage to vehicles in the area. According to an aviation expert, during the flight, the door popped open, causing the pilot to be distracted. This caused the pilot to turn the plane back around. These planes really need to stop having an open door policy. Tune in next week to see the next plane incident. Hopefully not, though.
Speaking of things in the air, it's a bird, it's a plane, oh, it's a balloon. Breaking news, a border surveillance balloon escapes from Texas. The balloon broke free and traveled about 600 miles north before crashing due to strong winds. We're still trying to figure out if the balloon was seeking asylum from Mexico or if it was sick of the dry desert views.
A man in Waterbury, Connecticut was found after starting a fire in an attempt to escape years of captivity. His stepmother, Kimberly Sullivan, kept him confined in a room for almost 20 years, providing him with little to no food and water. The man, who was standing at 5'9", 70 pounds, confessed to lighting the fire and said that he had been locked in his room for up to 24 hours a day with little contact and the occasional chores. Social services conducted 2 separate health checks, but the abuse continued and got worse when his father passed away. Sullivan was taken into custody and is accused of cruelty, kidnapping, and assault. Her bail is set at $300,000.
A Wisconsin toddler had a serious emergency that required police involvement. His mother ate his ice cream. The 4-year-old boy dialed 911, reporting that his mother was being bad and needed to go to jail. Once the police arrived at the dangerous crime scene, the 4-year-old boy finally admitted that the crime his mother had committed was eating his ice cream. Dispatchers say they could hear frustration in his tiny voice as he demanded justice. The officer had a quick laugh and returned to the kid's house with his very own ice cream. Unfortunately, the mother did not serve time for her crimes. Justice for Ice Cream Kid.
West Virginia University football coach Rich Rodriguez has officially put his foot down right on his players' dance moves. He's banned them from posting on the platform, declaring dancing in their tights ain't quite the image of our organization. Rather than perfecting their TikTok dance moves, Rodriguez wants his players to focus on winning games. The only fancy footwork he cares about is on the field because, let's be honest, some of these guys have more rhythm in the locker room than in the end zone.
A New Jersey woman recently returned a checked-out book to her local library, which belonged to her late father. The book had been checking out 99 years prior, and according to the library, would have racked up an estimated $18,000 in fees if the man were still alive. Ironically enough, the book in question was titled How to Milk $18,000 from Some Stupid Book Nerds.
On the 7th of this month, a Pennsylvania man was stopped at TSA. Most would think he had a weapon or illegal substance on him. This would be true if you consider a turtle to be a deadly weapon. At Newark Liberty International Airport, a pat-down was done on the man's body, only for the TSA scanner to go off. When the man was inquired about his concealment, he pulled out a red ear slider turtle from the groin area of his pants, wrapped in a towel. Naturally, the man was detained by Port Authority police. The man has not stated why he had the turtle tucked away in his pants. Many think that it was his pet and didn't want to pay the $100 for pet carry-on fees.
A single Cheeto out of a flaming hot Cheeto bag sold for over $87,000 at an auction, but it wasn't because of the taste or inflation. The Cheeto was shaped like a popular Pokemon character Charizard and comes with a customized Pokemon card and is placed in protective casing. The price of this Cheeto started at $250 in February, and according to the Golden Auction House, the person who bought the chip stayed anonymous. Maybe I could sell a Nemo-shaped goldfish cracker for that much too. And now to sports.
Welcome back to week 3 of the Golden Wolf Rundown, where we're going to give you the rundown of all the sports going on here. Let's start out with March 13th. Men's wrestling at NCAA National Championships. Good luck. That same day we got baseball. They're going to be over at Messiah at 3:30. Should be a really interesting game. They had a great start at spring break, and let's hope they continue that one on. Then we move on to the 15th. Men's wrestling is going to be at the National Championship for another day. Women's equestrian is going to be all the way over at Kutztown. And then men's tennis gets their first game at Penn State Berks. So, tennis is really interesting this year. Seniors Lucas Berger and Jaden Lewis, they're a great duo. In fact, since 2021, they are 26-12 going together. Good luck, guys, right? Rock it and knock it out of the park. After that, we got baseball versus Messiah at 12. Women's lacrosse has a game at Immaculata. That game is going to start at 1 p.m. Baseball plays their second game in the doubleheader against Messiah. And then to end off the day, men's lacrosse will be at Delaware. A little bit of a story about men's lacrosse. Jack Keenan finished the week in a 2-game stint. He had 4 goals and 7 assists in a 17-2 win over Randolph and an 18-2 win over Rosemount. He was named Alvernia's Athlete of the Week. Great job, and good luck to you and your next games. Then, the 18th, not a whole lot going on. Softball will play at Messiah, and that's a doubleheader at 3 and 5. Good luck. And then the 19th, baseball's going to Jersey City. That's a 3:30 p.m. start. Should be exciting. Women's lacrosse will play your Sinus. That's a 4 p.m. start. And then men's lacrosse will play against Wilkes. Lastly, on the 20th, softball has a doubleheader versus your Sinus. That's a 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. And, in another note, softball swept Rutgers in a 4-2 and 2-1 victory in their home opener. Great job, girls. And that's all for the Golden Wolf Rundown here. Now, coming off the bench with me are Matt and Tony.
Off the bench. Get in there.
Matt and Tony, thanks for coming back for another week. What are we going to talk about?
First off, we have a little bit of breakdown here. We want to talk about some of the quarterbacks in free agency, the winners of free agency, best move, worst move, and underrated move. So to start it off, I'd like to, break down the quarterback movement a little. We saw Sam Darnold go to the Seahawks where Geno Smith got traded to the Raiders. So what do you guys think of that?
Well, I really think that the Seahawks, when they traded Geno, I didn't know how they were going to replace him, and then you bring in Darnold, so that's good for them. But they shipped off a lot of the rest of their team. For the Raiders, it's really good to get Geno, get him locked in for a couple more years. He's a good starter. I think that he's good for the Raiders.
What do you think of that whole sequence?
I want to see them start Hal. I think he's young. He's got a lot of potential. And, while I'm glad Geno's moving on, right, I'm kind of disappointed that the Seahawks didn't decide to go with Sam Howell, right? A big passing guy, right? He was very successful with the Commanders despite the losing record. I think he could have done some work.
So you want to see the Seahawks start Sam Bum Howell over Sam Darnold. That is just
absolutely
insane and
it's diabolical.
Yeah, diabolical. There's no sense there. It's ridiculous and everything else. And then we saw another quarterback movement with Justin Fields going to the Jets. Aaron Rodgers still on the market. Who knows where he's going to go? He's looking. So, Tony, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, as a Steelers fan, I think Fields had some qualities that were good, but also some that were bad. But, a 2-year deal for $20 million a year, you can't really beat it. It's just a good option. If it pans out, it pans out. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Mm-hmm. How do you think?
I think he's going to remain on the bench, be the back face for Aaron Rodgers. I say they re-sign Aaron Rodgers for $65 million across 2 years. The Jets need Rodgers back.
There's some things that should never be said in this world, and you just said one of them right there. Aaron Rodgers is a fossil. That is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. And honestly, my brain can't comprehend what you just said. It's just unbelievable. So from there, we're going to completely ignore Ian's horrible takes once more, and we'll go into the winners of free agency. So, Tony, who do you have as your winner?
Yeah, I mean, the Vikings, they lost their quarterback in Sam Darnold, but they have J.J. McCarthy coming up. They got their D-line bolstered up. They have Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave, two good interior defensive linemen. Offensive line, they got a starting guard and center that can really bolster that up. And, I mean, you keep a guy like Harrison Smith there who, yeah, he's old, but he's a leader on that defense. He's key if they do want to have a chance to win. So I really think that they did a lot of good this offseason.
Mm-hmm. And Ian, how about you?
You know, I'm happy with Washington. Obviously, everyone knows I got a big affinity for that team, but I think they're making a lot of great moves. I'm sad to lose De'Ami Brown and obviously Jonathan Allen, Jonathan Allen, a great veteran for Washington. De'Ami Brown just popped off in the playoffs like no other wide receiver for us. But I have a lot of hope for the future, right? They got Debo. I did like the Laramie Tunsil trade, right? I think they need to bolster that front line. And then on defense, I know they made quite a few pickups. So I think they've done a good job so far, and I'm excited to see what else comes.
Well, I'm personally amazed that you actually said something sensible, so that's great. And my winners were the Denver Broncos. You know, they weren't that aggressive with their moves, but they made some smart moves. They picked up on their defense with Talona Hufanga, solid safety, very good, as well as Dre Greenlaw. He was injured all of last year with his torn Achilles, but when he's been healthy, he's been one of the top defensive players in the league. And, they just didn't overpay. They didn't do anything. They just signed Evan Ingram yesterday, so I think the Broncos have been making great moves.
I agree.
So, Tony, from that, who, in your opinion, made the best move for a single player?
So the best move for a single player, like you just said, Hufanga. I mean, the Broncos they lost Justin Simmons a couple years ago. You get a top safety for 3 years, $45 million. That's a steal. He missed a lot of last year with injury, but I mean, this guy is still one of the top defensive safeties in the league. So I mean, a team getting that with Greenlaw, you pair that together, that's the Niners' two key pieces on that Niners defense that made them so great. And I think that they can really do some work in Denver.
Mm-hmm. I kind of have two people here, and I'm going to go back to the Commanders' rhetoric, right? I like them picking up Deebo Samuel, obviously, and I think he's going to do great. Big help there from McLaurin, who was kind of all on his own. And, when you only have one good wide receiver, it's pretty easy to cover the pass. And then I do like Laramie Tunsil. I'm going to reiterate, I think he's going to do great. He's going to be on that line with Jaden Daniels, and I think there's going to be a lot of good that comes out of it. I know in the playoffs, there was some mishaps on that O-line, so let's hope that Tunsil kind of helps that one out.
Yeah, my best move is actually kind of a whole restructure. I think the Chicago Bears did a great job on the offensive line, fixing that up for Caleb Williams. We saw Williams was the highest pressured quarterback in the NFL last year, and they made good trades with the Rams to get Jonah Jackson, traded with the Chiefs for Joe Thuney, and then they signed the Falcon center Drew Dalman to completely restructure that line. So that's kind of my best move, was with the Bears just restructuring that line. And now, what's your worst move of free agency?
Worst move, call me biased, Dan Moore to the Titans. Terrible deal. I mean, as a Steelers fan, people thought this guy was going to get re-signed. He was looking like a completely different player second half of the season last year. Gave up the most sacks in the league. I mean, I don't know how this guy gets paid $20 million. So, yeah, definitely Dan Moore. It's a terrible deal.
Mm-hmm. So before I go into mine, I got a quick ask. How well do you think the Chicago Bears are going to do this year based off of the ads? Caleb's obviously going to have a little bit more time to work in the pocket.
I think the Bears, I think their floor is going to still be 6-11, but I think their ceiling is going to be around a 10-11 win team if everything clicks. I don't think it will, so I'm thinking more 8-9 or 9-8 year for the Bears.
All right. Well, I'm hoping you don't criticize me on this one, but Javon Kinlaw, probably one of the worst signings. 3 years, $45 million. I know the Commanders have a lot of cap space to work with, but you don't waste $15 million on a guy like that a year.
Well, Ian, the world may be ending because I also think Javon Kinlaw is the worst signing of free agency. I'm a Jets fan, and just watching Kinlaw was like slamming your head into a wall. That guy was just pure horrible. I have no idea how he was walking away with $45 million. And then finally, to end this off, what's your underrated move of the free agency period?
So another ex-Steeler, James Daniels. I mean, James Daniels tore his Achilles last year, missed the rest of the season. But, I mean, before that, second highest rated PFF grade for a guard, second highest run grade for a PFF guard. So I really just think that James Daniels going to the Dolphins completely helps that run game. And it just helps Tua too. You need more help on that offensive line. I mean, we've seen Tua's taken a beating. He had potentially season-ending injuries happen to him, and we don't know how he's going to recover from that. So you need a guy that's going to protect him, and James Daniels is just 3 years, $24 million. I think that's a steal for a top guard.
Yeah, definitely a good deal.
I'm probably going to have to agree with you there, Tony. And, Tua's taken so much. Obviously, he needs some of that pressure taken off him. We don't want him to end up being another RG3 and have his career end early. But, yeah.
And then finally, my underrated deal is Joey Bosa. Great player, 1 year, $12 million. We'll see what he does. All right, thanks for tuning in to Off the Bench. It was certainly an interesting episode. Somehow me and Ian agreed on something, but nothing changed with Ian's horrible take. So be sure to tune in next week.
Mark your calendars. Here are some campus events you don't want to miss.
Do you want to smack some balls? A day trip to Top Golf is on Saturday, March 15th. Tickets are $25 for Alvernia students, $35 for faculty, and $45 for outside guests. The bus will depart at 5 p.m. at the AU Student Center shuttle stop and return at 9 p.m.
On Sunday, March 16th, from 1 to 3 p.m. in the Student Center seminar room, there's an event to make t-shirt dog toys to be donated to Oscar Animal Rescue. If you're interested in crafting for a good cause, this event is for you.
Downward Dog has never been more literal. Come stretch, relax, and try not to get out-yogaed by a Labrador at Dogs and Yoga this Sunday. It's guaranteed to be the only workout where getting licked in the face is just part of the experience.
Are you interested in exploring West Reading? There's a free trip to West Reading on Thursday, March 20th at 6 p.m. Enjoy special perks like a free scoop of ice cream from Sweet Ride Ice Cream, pizza and soda from Giovanni's Pizza, and discounts from other shops. Bring your Alvernia ID to be eligible.
And that's a wrap for today's episode. Make sure to like and subscribe and follow our YouTube, Instagram accounts for more content.